Well, proceeding further with the questions, let's take the first. The number of floating ribs in the human body are, ribs means there are 12 pair of ribs in the front in the chest cavity. We can't press these ribs except the lower ribs that we can press on, because these are the ribs that are also providing the protection, a part of protection to the liver and to the kidney in the abdominal cavity. What is their number? Are it 2 pairs, 3 pairs, 4 pairs or 8 pairs? Actually, if we look at it, is the last 2 pair of the ribs that are not attached to the sternum. From the backbone, they do arise from, they are attached or they do arise from the vertebral column, from the vertebrae. But thoracic vertebrae, they do arise, but they do not attaches themselves to the sternum. That is the center bone here, the chest bone here, right, or a thigh bone that you call as. So the correct option is A. It is a 2 pair of ribs that are considered as the floating ribs because they are not attached to sternum. Right. Next. The elbow joint is an example of, elbow joint means this joint. What type of is it synovial? No, synovial joint, it is movable. So it is a synovial joint. So option A is not correct. Now there are 3 types of synovial joints mentioned here: hinge, gliding joint and ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint is the shoulder joint where we can rotate our hand like a bowler in a cricket who bowls the ball. It is because of the rotatory movement of the hand, like a ball and socket joints. Gliding joints are the joints that are present in the neck, like this. But the elbow joints are known for the hinge joints because they are one-sided door. That means if this is my door, it can open like this only, in one direction. If I try to do it like this, can it go down? No, it can only come in one direction. So such joints are what we call as the hinge joints, and hence B is the correct option. Next, in humans, the term emergency hormone, actually emergency hormone, if you recall, is also called as the 3F hormone. Hormone of stress, or strain, hormone of excitement, all these are the form of the emergency hormone. Which hormone is this? Is it insulin? Insulin is involved with the metabolism of glucose. Vasopressin is involved in the regulation of the water level, the volume of the water in the blood. Adrenaline and thyroxine are the 2 hormones left. Thyroxine is from the thyroid gland in the neck, and adrenaline is from the adrenal gland, adrenal medulla. So the correct option is adrenaline. Adrenaline is the one that produces the emergency hormone. Adrenaline, it raises our heartbeat, our blood pressure, rate of breathing, etc., to prepare our body or ourselves to face any state of emergency or any state of stress or strain or excitement. So the emergency hormone is none but is the adrenaline, produced and secreted by the adrenal cortex, and each of these adrenal glands are located on the top surface or the upper surface of the kidney. You must have read that in the excretory system. Next, the hormone insulin is naturally the source of the hormone is pancreas. Pancreas, is an endocrine gland, and the endocrine part of the pancreas is called islets of Langerhans. Islets of Langerhans. And islets of Langerhans have got 3 cells: alpha, beta, and gamma. Delta or gamma, that you can say, but normally call it as delta. Alpha cells in islets of Langerhans, these cells are known to secrete hormone glucagon. Beta cells secretes the hormone that we call as insulin. Delta cells secrete a hormone called stomatosin or secretin, whereas hepatic cells are not involved in the secretion of insulin, because hepatic cells are only involved in the metabolism of glucose. What happens is that if we look at the glucose is here, this is water soluble. This glucose is converted into glycogen, which is insoluble. The conversion of glucose, excess of glucose into glycogen, is glucogenesis. And it occurs in the presence of the hormone insulin. Whereas when the blood sugar level rises, the glycogen, required amount of the glycogen, get converted into glucose. And the process is called glyconeogenesis, which is regulated by the hormone glucagon. And all this process of conversion occurs in hepatic cells of liver. Right? That means from pancreas, islets of Langerhans, these hormones will be produced and secreted. Blood would bring them to the liver. And it is in the liver then the metabolism of glucose will take place. If the blood coming to the liver is carrying more glucose, it would be immediately converted into glycogen in the presence of the hormone insulin. If the percentage of the glucose in the blood arriving at liver is less, then the glycogen stored in the liver cells would be converted into glucose to raise the blood sugar level up to a nominal value. Next, the part of the human ear is responsible for auditory signals, that means for hearing, that plays no role in hearing as such, but is otherwise very much important, is eustachian tube, organ of Carti, vestibular apparatus, or tympanic membrane. Actually, eustachian tube are the ones that connect the middle ear to the throat. Organ of Carti are the part in the internal ear where the generation, the conversion or change of the mechanical stimuli into the electrical stimuli take place. That means as the fluid oscillates, that oscillation is converted into the electrical signals to be carried by the auditory nerve to the brain. Vestibular part, tympanic membrane, is the membrane eardrum that vibrates depending upon the vibration or the frequency and amplitude of the sound reaching into or entering into the ear. It is the vestibular apparatus in the middle ear, in the internal ear, that helps in balancing the body organ, in balancing the body. Right? Therefore, sometimes if you realize, if you go on a long hour flight, like a flight of 4 hours, 5 hours, etc., or in a super fast train, your ears start paining and buzzing. And that change in the ear that you experience is because of the disturbance that occurs in the vestibular apparatus present inside the internal ear, because it comprises of semicircular canals. Right? Next, the nerve centers which controls the body temperature, thermoregulatory center you can say, and the urge for eating the food, that you are feeling hungry, you must eat now. We don't feel like eating every time. There is only a time when we start feeling hungry, right? Because that is the time when the raw material necessary for generating energy in the body is reduced. Now, which part of the brain generates and regulates these centers? Cerebellum with the posture, it is hypothalamus. Because thalamus part is like a receptionist. If you visit a big offices, right, you see there is a reception at the base, at the entry point. What do? I wish to meet someone. You go and you ask the receptionist. The receptionist directs you where to go. So the impulses reaching to the brain, they first reach to the thalamus. Now, thalamus decide which impulse to go to which part of the brain, such that the time lost, the time needed is reduced. Otherwise, if it is a 2-story or 3-story building and you have to go around in each and every room looking for the person you are visiting to see, it might take a hell of a time for that. But the receptionist helps you to direct that and you go straight there. You are saving energy, you are saving time. This is what the thalamus does. Medulla oblongata, as we learned, is control center for the breathing. So it is hypothalamus, the thermoregulatory center. Next, Bowman's gland are located in. Now, don't confuse Bowman's glands with Bowman's capsule. Because Bowman's capsules are a part of nephron. Unit structure of kidney. So where are they found located? In nephron? No. In ear? No. In pituitary? No. Bowman's glands are the glands that are present in the olfactory epithelium. That means olfactory means sensing, smelling. In the nostrils, you have got epithelium, the outermost layer of the inside of the nostrils has got epithelium, having these Bowman's glands, right? These glands keep these olfactory cells activated in order to pick up any smell if it happens to be inhaled by a person. That's why if you see that when we pass through an area where bad smell is coming, what we do? We close our nose, because it is only up to the point from nose up to the mouth, right? These olfactory cells are there. Otherwise also, if you eat something that produces odor, and you close your nose and then you chew it, you won't realize the smell. You won't feel the smell of what you are chewing, because there are no more olfactory cells anywhere in the part of the body except in the nostril area. And it is in the nostril areas the epithelium has got the Bowman's glands, which activate the olfactory cells, or which keep them which keep the olfactory cells active all the time. Next, the human hindbrain comprises 3 parts. One of these is hindbrain, that means brain at the back, frontal, mid and hind. Spinal cord, no, that's not a part. Spinal cord is a part inside the vertebral column, it's not a part of the brain. Cerebellum, part of the brain. Corpus callosum, the joint between the 2 cerebrum, cortex, that is, if you remember, I just mentioned that, I must have mentioned like this. Then the frontal part has got this cerebrum, and this corpus callosum is the structure which is joining or touching the 2 cortex of the cerebrum. Hypothalamus is a part of front brain. Spinal cord is not part of brain. Corpus callosum is again a part of the frontal brain. So the correct option is the cerebellum. The part that regulates the body posture is the one that is the part of the hind brain. Next, the blood vessel which carries the absorbed nutrients from ileum. Naturally, the absorption of food takes place in the ileum, small intestine, to liver. The food absorbed is first taken to the liver for assimilation. Now, which blood vessel carries this absorbed food from small intestine to the liver? Is it hepatic vein? Hepatic vein has got nothing to do with the ileum. So also the hepatic artery. Carotid artery is not there, neither it is connected with the liver nor with the intestine. It is hepatic portal vein, the blood vessel which carries the absorbed nutrients, whether good or toxic. Even if something is toxic, it would be carried by, if absorbed, would be carried by the hepatic portal vein to the liver. So the correct option is the D. Then last, for prevention of regular constipation, you must have heard of the people complaining of constipation, right? A person is always advised to eat plenty of. That means if a person is suffering or complains of constipation, what would you advise him? Eat food rich in starch like rice, etc. Food rich in oils, which are very oily foods. Food rich in roughages. What are roughages? Roughages include the salads. Or food rich in vitamins. Vitamins has got nothing to do with the constipation, because they are already with the vitamins are present in all these things. Whatever you eat, some part of the vitamin is there. They are not specifically being used up unless there is a deficiency of particular vitamin. So the correct option is C, because roughages include the salad. Now, when you eat, these roughages add bulk to the food. Bulk means they make the food more for easy grinding. What happens is that if you are eating chapati with some curry, if you mess up the whole of the chapati, you can hold it in less than your hand, in your fist. You can hold that much. If you have eaten a full slice of bread, how much grain have you eaten up? You can, if you just smash them, dip them in water, and then you mash them. It will be just like this much. That much of grain that you have eaten. So what happens is that the grinding of that inside the stomach is a difficult process. It becomes difficult. But when you eat these salads, they contain cellulose. And you know, human body cannot digest cellulose. So what happens as we eat and the grinding process taking place in the stomach, this cellulose part, the fibrous part of the cellulose or cell walls, allows proper grinding of the food. And if the food is ground well, naturally it will be digested well and absorbed well, and the person won't suffer from constipation. So students, today we have done some more questions, about 45 questions, and I think again, I repeat myself, that it must have given you a picture of the sort of the question that you expect. Along with this, I hope that now the further topics that we will be proceeding in will try to grab those questions accordingly, as we have discussed in these two of these recap test questions, right? And thanks. Have a nice time.